I wanted to start this video by saying Happy Pride Month, but every time I said it, it sounded weird. Like at one point I said Happy Pride Month and I was like, okay, that doesn't work. And another time I was like Happy Pride Month and I was like, wow, I did not disguise my accent. But nonetheless, it is Pride Month and you know what that means? You write a fan fiction where a character comes out as straight. Okay, just kidding, but one time in Pride Month I stumbled across a fan fiction that someone had posted in the middle of Pride Month where a character came out as straight and I was like, wow, this was a choice. I think the author was like mad that people kept headcanoning a character as a lesbian because they did not agree. So they chose to like make a fic out of spite, I guess, where the character came out as straight. But it was such a choice to post it in Pride Month. You could have posted it in July. You could have waited some days. Anyway, in today's video, we're gonna talk about my favorite non-canon ships in dcla, of course. I could also make a video with my favorite non-canon ships in other media that isn't dcla, but because I have so many in dcla, I feel like they need their own video. As I have mentioned before, when you are in dcla, it's common practice to have at least 2 non-canon queer ships that you like, but some people have none, some people only have canon ships. Some people believe that all characters are straight because they are quote-unquote interested in only the opposite gender in the show. But I mean, it's a kids show, so no one really has a sexuality. And some characters' interest in opposite genders does not always mean that they are attracted to the opposite gender. Sometimes it could be internalized homophobia or just that they live in a heteronormative society and haven't realized it yet. Or they are bisexual, pansexual. Some characters are also asexual. I will not go into that deep on my sexuality headcanons here, because I am just gonna focus on the ships. And yes, I did make a video with the queer subtext in these shows, but I will just focus on ships this time. And I will also focus on the ones that I really do ship, because there are some characters where I think that one may have a crush on the other, but I don't really ship them. At first I planned to make a sort of ranking video, but I realized pretty quickly that I don't know where to put everyone on the ranking, because I have 2 that are my ultimate favorite, and those 2 share a first place. And everyone else just like scatter around, and sometimes I focus more on them than other times. But I don't think we need to stretch this video out more. I think we should just get going and I will discuss my favorite dcla non-canon queer ships. That was a long description, but anyway, the first one I want to discuss is the first one I ever got, Diego and Leon. Now, some people believe that the non-canon queer ships weren't really a thing in the Violetta fandom until recently, and while they have more focus nowadays than what they did back in the day, we have always been obsessed with queer ships, and Diego and Leon may have been the biggest one when the show originally aired. And it's still a very popular male-male ship. I don't know, it just has everything in it. The tension that almost feels like sexual tension at some points. The intense stares. The way they need to have each other's attention all the time for some reason. The different lines, like something happens when both of us are singing together. The way Leon rips off a paper and Diego looks turned on by it. The way Gregorio at one point told Leon that he has a Diego inside.
Usted tiene un Diego adentro. No, usted tiene... No.
And of course, the thing that we all think about when we think about Diego and Leon.
The vibe is so fantastic.
I know everyone was waiting for that. It's so easy to find them appealing. And with them, it's not much to analyze for me. Like, it's a ship that I just can see and I am like, yes, I get it. The next one on the list I want to talk about is Violetta and Lara. It's a ship I don't feel as strongly about anymore, but I want to mention it because I think everyone knows who I ship Violetta with the most that isn't a canon love interest. But before I shipped her with her, I shipped Violetta with Lara. And I can't pinpoint exactly what it is about them, but sometimes when I rewatch season 2, I still get reminded about how I feel like there is something going on there, and I can't pinpoint exactly what it is, but it is something about them that just interests me. I also have a headcanon that Violetta had her bisexual awakening when she saw Lara sing on stage, because the way she goes to compliment her afterwards is just like a bi-panic. And Lara has a thing that every time she tries to talk to Violetta, she has this thing where she goes forward, then she goes backwards, kind of chickening out, a little bit nervous, and then she goes up to her again, like she's nervous and shy to talk to her. I just think it's adorable, and even though I don't feel as strongly about them later, I always have some spot for them. Another ship that I only really have in season 2 because one of the characters are only in season 2, it's Angie and Jackie. I find Angie and Jackie to be very interesting because I think that Jackie probably isn't a character that a lot of people like think about, and that's because she kind of like came and went, but when she was here, there was so much about her that just never really got resolved. Like, she was planning to close the studio, or she was talking to some guy, and especially her treatment with Angie. Because I guess you could interpret it as she's jealous that Angie has things going on with Pablo and she wants Pablo for herself. But the way she acts makes me feel like there is much more going on than that. Because I absolutely think that she has jealousy towards Angie because she likes Pablo. But just going from the first episode alone, when Angie and Jackie shake hands, Jackie looks so pissed for no reason. And I am wondering, does she know Angie from before and she's just pretending to not like her? And then at the party, Angie has not spoken to her at all, and she just comes up to Angie and is like, do you have a problem with me? Do you have a problem with me speaking to Pablo? And you can interpret it as maybe Pablo has talked about Angie with Jackie, but I don't see him like doing that. So she must have come to her own conclusions, and the way she talks to Angie makes me wonder if she has known her before. And then I came up with the headcanon that Angie and Jackie used to date. Angie also has this weird thing where she kind of flirts with Jackie, but I'm not sure if it's flirting, but either way, she just has these really weird conversations where she giggles every other second and she like smiles too brightly, and Jackie is kind of uncomfortable by it. And I feel like if they weren't exes, then maybe they just have this attraction to each other that they don't know how to handle. It's just the appeal of them having something going on or having like a beef because they're bickering exes. It's just really appealing to me. And I think with that in mind, I also think that makes Jackie a much more interesting character, because she's a character I feel like they had plans with and then they didn't do anything with those plans. So he has a lot of missed potential, and I kind of wanted her to still be in season 3 just to see like how the vibes would be. Like maybe her and Angie would get better along by season 3, and also Gregorio would end the studio, so then Jackie would have a full-time job as a dance teacher. There's just so much potential and there's so much to theorize, and the whole thing with Angie and Jackie, I don't know, there's something about them, you know. Some of these ships, as you can tell, there's not always much of an explanation, it's just like vibes, like I just feel something. And it can be like that for a lot of ships, like sometimes you don't have much reasons. Sometimes you ship people that you don't exactly need to be together, you just ship them anyway. Like, I'm not sure if I want Angie and Jackie to date, but I ship them anyway because of the vibes that they have with each other. But there's other ships you have that you really feel like they were in love. They were dating and they should date, and I ship them because I really think that they should be together. And one of these ships would be Anna and Mora. Like, with a lot of these ships, it's basically just me seeing vibes, and it's not really always the creator's intention. But with Anna and Mora, I honestly wonder if they had some sort of intention of making them actually date each other, but they couldn't because it was Disney Channel. Anna and Mora start off the show by being these type of characters that you feel like, why are they here? They take up screen time, why can't we focus on other characters? And I still have to admit that I pay less attention to their scenes than when I do with other characters. But I remember so well when season 2 came out and suddenly, for some reason, Anna and Nina were moving into Mora's house. Okay, I knew why they temporarily moved in, it was because their house was being renovated. But I mean it as the reason they had this plot in the first place, why they chose to write it in. And this led to the whole storyline with Anna realizing that she liked to live with Mora. Anna realizing that she liked living with Mora and she wanted to live there permanently. And they have this whole kind of like flirty undertone vibe going on where they both like were shy about admitting that they wanted to live together. And then Anna was just really nervous about telling Nina that she wanted to live permanently with Mora. And I feel like this was not just about moving in permanently. I feel like you don't just do a storyline like this if you didn't want to do something more not platonic. I can tell that the dcla writers, they want to implement something sometimes, but they can't due to what I assume is restrictions from Disney Channel. And the Anna and Mora moving in storyline, I really think that there was something more going on here. Another Soy ship I have that I know that the writers absolutely did not intend to be interpreted romantically, but I interpret them romantically anyway, is Emilia and Ambar. And with them it's kind of the same as Diego and Leon, that I just like see it and I don't have much explanation behind it, I just like see it and I'm like, yes. I don't know, I think that they hooked up in between season 2 and season 3, and for a part of season 3 I think that they may have had a casual relationship. I also think that Emilia might have like actually had a crush on Ambar, but Ambar more like, obviously she felt an attraction to her, but more like saw it as something casual and not as serious, and that's why Emilia got a little jealous when Ambar seemed to have even more interest in Simone, for example, because she wanted Ambar to herself, and maybe she pretended to have a crush on Matteo just because she wanted to prove something to Ambar or something. It can be possible. I can mention Matteo and Ramiro also, because I have said before that Ramiro has a tendency to have vibes with every man ever, but my favorite is probably between him and Ramiro, and that is probably because I saw one scene in season 3 where like Ramiro was like, yeah, you and I are rivals, don't forget that, and it like felt like enemies to lovers 100k fanfic. I like Ramiro and Matteo, just I didn't notice them a lot in season 1, but in season 2 when they started like skate together in Adrenaline, and in season 3 when like they kind of have a friendship even though Ramiro is rivals with everyone in Jammer Roller, like yeah, I see it, I ship it. It is time to talk about Ludmilla and her ships. And we're gonna start with Ludmilla and Camilla, because from the first episode you just realize there is some giant tension between the two. And I have said this before, but Camilla especially rages a queer energy already in the first episode, and when you just see how she acts with Ludmilla, it's really easy to like kind of ship them. Like, it's kind of like rivals to lovers type of thing. You aren't sure if they're gonna fight or if they're just gonna pull each other up and make out, because they have that vibe with each other. Also, with Ludmilla and Camilla, it's the one ship that the actors actually have brought up and joked about them being together.
En la cuarta temporada hay una precuela donde Maxi y Violeta se encuentran después de muchos años y se enamoran. Y Camila y Ludmilla también.
¡Ay, me encanta!
Sí, porque Federico muere.
So I'm just saying, if any queer ship would be canon, it would be Camilla and Ludmilla. But we need to talk about Ludmilla and Nati, because they are probably the big ship here. I don't know what it was about them, but like someone or everyone collectively on Tumblr at some point were like, hey, what if the reason why Nati is always singing around Ludmilla is because she actually is in love with her? And we all just like got onto this idea, and like since then it's probably been one of the biggest queer ships from Violetta. With Ludmilla and Nati, it's one of those ships that once you get into it you can't unsee it, because the second I rewatched the show and I had opened my eyes that maybe they are in love with each other, I kept seeing new scenes and I kept seeing these things that I never noticed before. And I still do. I still find some scenes where I'm like, oh my god, I did not see that before. What is going on? Like with them, it's sometimes to the point where you wonder like, is this intentional, or is it just the actors that like decided that to do it like this? Like, did Alba and Mechi go into these roles and be like, yeah, we're gonna play them as gay as possible? I don't think they did, but like, I sometimes wonder if that's what they were doing. And I think it gets better with each season. Like, in season 3, I feel like at some point that Nati and Ludmilla just legit were dating at some point. And then we also need to discuss Camilla and Nati, because while not as much in the previous seasons, season 3, like, they were girlfriends. They were dating in season 3, not to mention that Camilla wanted to practice her kissing scene with Nati, and I will never shut up about this. More people need to discuss this, actually. Did you all forget that Camilla wanted to practice the kissing scene with Nati? Because I will never forget. They kissed up screen, okay? Besides that, they have a lot of different moments around season 3. I think that Nati dated both Ludmilla and Camilla in season 3, and I love all of these ships almost equally. Like, I love Camilla and Ludmilla, I love Ludmilla and Nati, and I love Nati and Camilla. Like, I love all the scenes with all of them together, but I also ship them as a trio, like as a polo chip. Like, I love them, I love those three also dating each other. Like, that's the best endgame for them, that all three of them were dating each other. Another ship that I've also grown to love is Andres and Maxi. I didn't think about it a lot before, like, I thought it was funny that they accidentally asked each other out for a date. But I am starting to see the appeal thanks to, like, some people in fanfictions and fans on Tumblr. I have started to, like, get into it much more, and I'm gonna say that I really do love it. I love their dynamic, and I think that they would be a great couple together. There is also a queer ship that I am shipped as a joke, but I don't think it's a joke anymore, and that is Nina and Luna. Here's the thing, like, the first time I watched Soy Luna, I for some reason thought Nina was a lesbian for the first 3 episodes, because I think that I liked the idea of, like, having a closeted lesbian with, like, overprotective parents for some reason. Then I noticed, okay, but she does like boys a lot, so whatever. But She also has so many like random queer one-liners, like boys don't exist in my dictionary, and when she told Luna that studies can show that friends can fall in love with each other, and she meant Luna and Simone in that case, but the way she said it, like, it applies to every single friend, so like in that case it could be like her and Luna too. And I also remember the scene where Luna was with Ambar and Matteo at the fountain, and Luna was about to go away, and Ambar was like,
¿Qué pasó? ¿Tienes una cita? Sí, con Nina. Bueno, nos vemos.
Off topic, but why was Amber like assuming that she was going on a date? Like, that's not the first thing I think about when someone needs to go, but okay. They also have a lot of moments in season 1 where like Luna gives her a ring, and like they have some cute moments at school and at roller. And for a lot of the time I was like, ha ha ha, I'm shipping them as a joke, but like I think rewatching season 1, I realized, okay, there's a lot of small moments that I notice here, and yeah, maybe, but for the majority of season 2, I like saw them as friends, until Monica seemed to wonder if they were dating each other because she saw them being mysterious in the bedroom. And so she asked, why were you mysterious in the bedroom? And that scene like lives rent-free in my head. But there wasn't a lot in season 2, and there wasn't a lot in season 3 either, until the last episode, where Luna randomly gives like a love confession. So she like kneels down like she's gonna propose. And she's like, Lena, I love you so much. And I was like, what is happening? And I do believe that because both Nina and Luna got terrible endgames, they should have ended up together with each other, actually. But now we have reached my 2 favorite queer ships from these shows. And we can start with Jim and Jam. I mean, I made an almost 2-hour video about their love for each other, so I feel like if you have watched my videos before, you know a lot what I feel about them, but I still need to repeat myself because I can't assume that everyone has watched my previous videos. I always have to go from the assumption that whoever is watching may be the first video they see from me. I just saw them right away and I was like, oh my god, these two are gay for each other. It also does not help that like they didn't really have good like romantic storylines, because with Jim and Nico, the second that Jim started dating him, she immediately went, something feels wrong. And she later broke up with him because she didn't feel jealous that he talked to other girls. And she has learned from the heterosexual society that she lives in that you need to be jealous when your boyfriend talks to other girls. And Jam and Ramiro, like, I guess they were cute, but for me it felt like every time they started dating, Jam sort of wanted to find a reason for them to break up again. And I think the two girls finally started dating each other in season 3, when both of them had broken up with their separate love interests. It was free for them to start dating each other. And some people have said that they think that Ramiro and Jam got back together in the very last episode. But I'm sorry, I need more than like background stuff. Like, I need like a verbal confirmation that they were back together. I will not simply accept that they smiled at each other once. Honestly, I don't want to give a full analysis in this video because it's gonna be pretty short. But if you wanna see my entire analysis on why I think Jim and Jam are lesbians and when they realize their feelings for each other, then check out my almost 2-hour long video, because I think it can be fun to check it out. But now we have come to the one and only, my favorite non-canon queer ship in all of dcla, Francesca and Violetta. It was so funny because as a child I was like all about Leonetta, and I still love Violetta a lot, but you all know I am a multi-shipper, like duh. But I remember so clearly like rewatching the show as I got older and rewatching all the moments, and I remember I saw the scene in episode 10 of season 1 where Violetta and Francesca first became friends, and something sparkled inside of me and I was like, oh, but I didn't think a lot about it. And then I saw episode 6 of season 2 where Francesca almost went up to Violetta's face, like almost kissing her, and I was like, oh my god, what just happened? And then came the scene in episode 25 of season 2. Yes, I keep track of the episode numbers. I am a professional. It's the scene where Francesca offers to stay at home with Violetta and watch a movie with her instead of going to a party, and Violetta declines. And Francesca kisses her on the cheek goodbye. And that was the moment where I was like, alright, I ship them now. I ship them so hard. And it's like a cheek kiss does not mean anything romantic, but we also can't forget that Germain like freaked out when Leon kissed her on the cheek once. He has never seen Francesca in that case. I think it's also like appealing that Germain is so anti-boys, so I like the idea of Violetta coming home with Francesca and be like, okay, you said no boys, so I'm dating a girl now. Like, he would like have a short circuit or something. It's hard for me to really express my feelings for Francesca and Violetta because like it's just comes down to me just gushing over every little scene they have without really much reason, but like it's the way that they need each other so much. Like, Francesca can't concentrate on singing unless it's Violetta that plays the keyboard. Francesca wrote a song about her and Violetta's friendship. Violetta went out of her way for Francesca to stay in Italy, and I know it was a group effort, but Francesca's dad said that he wanted Francesca to stay specifically because he didn't want Francesca to leave Violetta. And season 3, where Francesca, even if she thinks that Violetta's plan is so stupid, she still goes along with the Roxy and Fausta plot. And you know, one thing I can appreciate about Roxy and Fausta is the fact that Francesca and Violetta get more scenes together. I also love that there's a moment where Violetta like considers stop doing the Roxy thing because Francesca has confronted her about it, and then Francesca comes to her house and Violetta is like about to apologize for everything and be like, okay, we're going to put down this Roxy and Fausta nonsense. And right then, Francesca says, I have Fausta in my bag. And Violetta like gets right back into the madness. Also, when they changed and Ludmilla like walked in on them and probably thought that they were making out in the aquarium. It doesn't help that Violetta like put on her jacket, like she had like her clothes off or something. It's also that Francesca cares so much about Violetta that like she overthinks about how she's gonna tell her that she dates Diego, because it isn't just that she dates her ex, it's just that she doesn't know how to like properly say it because she cares so much about Violetta and she doesn't know how to say it, and she overthinks everything even though it's just to say it. And sometimes it felt like she thought more about Violetta than she did with Diego. It's all the times where Francesca like offers to go home with Violetta, like only the two of them. It's all the cheek kisses. It's the hugs, it's just everything about them. They make my heart melt so much. Like, I look at them and I feel like cartoon hearts like bubble up from me. I could gush about them forever. I feel like if I like a ship more, I say less because I just get into this gushing phase where I just repeat, I love them, I love them, I love them all the time. And like the ships that I love but not as much, I give like some more like reasoning to. But honestly, shipping doesn't have to have a reason. Sometimes it's simply just vibes that are fantastic. And I honestly think that the queer ships that you have just makes these shows even more enjoyable because you see something outside of the box. You don't just see all the canon ships, you see beyond that. You see the queer moments that maybe weren't supposed to be there, or maybe they were, but you see them anyway. And I just think that's wonderful. But which ones are your favorite queer ships from DCLA? Do you have any one that is the same to me? I like most other queer ships. The ships I haven't mentioned here isn't because I dislike them, but simply because like I don't think that I see it or ship it as much, but I like most queer ships. So what are your favorite DCLA queer ships? Leave a comment, because comments are fun. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.